LGBTQ children are the targets of more state laws these days. A bill in Florida that's gotten a lot of attention is moving closer to becoming law. Tomorrow, the Florida State Senate plans to vote on the Parental Rights in Education bill. Critics are calling it the Don't Say Gay bill. This measure would restrict classroom discussions about sexual orientation and gender identity. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has said he supports the bill. Meanwhile, transgender women and girls continue to be targeted by bills about sports. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox says he plans to veto a measure banning trans athletes from girls' sports. The Utah State Legislature passed this bill on Friday. The governor says he wants trans athletes to know, quote, that it's going to be okay, we're going to work through this, unquote. A similar bill just became law in Iowa. On Thursday, Governor Kim Reynolds signed a ban to keep trans women and girls out of female sports teams. Iowa's law applies to public and private K-12 schools as well as colleges.
Women deserve the same opportunity as men to develop their talents and strive for excellence. The principle of equality, equal opportunity justifies virtually all progress women have made over the centuries.
Iowa is now one of 11 states with a law like this on the books. Temporary injunctions are blocking Idaho and West Virginia from enforcing their laws. One of the most contentious measures is in Texas, involving health care. At issue is gender-affirming care provided to transgender children. Governor Greg Abbott issued a directive to conduct child abuse investigations into this care and the parents who seek it for their children. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton backed up the governor's order, and the state's Department of Family and Protective Services has begun investigations. On Wednesday, a judge halted one investigation involving a family with a 16-year-old trans daughter. The ACLU and Lambda Legal sued the state on the teen's behalf. Texas is appealing the decision in hopes of overturning a temporary restraining order. NBC News has reached out to Governor Abbott's office for comment. We have yet to hear a response, but that offer stands. In the meantime, let's hear from someone directly affected by this, someone who's been fighting to protect her child for a long time. Rachel is the mother of a transgender child in Texas. We are using her first name only to help protect her family's identity. Also with us is Derek Mergel-Rust, an attorney representing the parents of trans youth across Texas. He's also an adjunct professor at the Texas Tech School of Law. Good to have you both with us. And Rachel, I wonder if I might start by asking you to tell us about your little one. If we got to know them beyond this controversy that has kind of affected you and your family, what will we notice about them that we might notice about any kid?
Well, you would notice I have 3 thriving children. The issues we're facing right now are not things that we have to deal with on a regular basis. My daughter she loves riding her bike, she loves swimming, she loves hanging out with her friends, playing Pokemon Go, all the things that you would expect from a 12-year-old who's happy. And, you'll have to forgive me because it's pretty hard for me to talk about this without tearing up because it's just been such an awful couple of weeks.
I can imagine. And in many ways, she's just like every other little girl. By the way, you mentioned she's a Pokemon Go fan. Has she nagged you about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and Arceus? Has that conversation come up in the house yet?
I mean, I block it all out. I'm like, yeah, that's just a language to me, so you do you.
I hear that. I have a Pokemon fan in my house, so I can relate to that. Tell me, Rachel, about your journey as the parent of a transgender child. What was that learning curve like for you when you had to start engaging with all of this?
It's been so long at this point. There was never a time that my daughter didn't identify as a girl. It was really more of my husband and I coming to terms with it. And it was a really difficult struggle for my husband in particular. But we've been fighting anti-transgender legislation for over 5 years now. And it's been quite a beatdown overall because, like I mentioned before, we don't have to deal with these things on a daily basis. Libby knows who she is, and we have come to love and appreciate her exactly as she is living her authentic life. And I think it can be hard for families to understand that haven't been through this, and that's why we did seek support. And mental health care providers, physicians, we've been through a lot, making sure that we are a few steps ahead, making sure that the people in her life are supportive, that she isn't experiencing discrimination, and we've been really successful. The people in her life know who she is, and they want to support her.
Before I come to your attorney, it sounds, Rachel, like a lot of the journey has been yours, that she has been kind of living her life and being who she is, and it's sort of the adults around her who've had to go on this journey. They're the ones who've had the learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's so much of unpacking my own expectation of the child I thought I would have and learning to appreciate the child that I do have.
Derek Mergel-Rust, let me ask you about this directive from the governor. I read Governor Abbott's directive, including the response from the Attorney General Ken Paxton, which was written to Matt Krause, who's a member of the Texas House of Representatives. A lot of what's written in this has to do with a number of surgical procedures that some people who are transgender choose to employ. A lot of the concern, at least the way that the Attorney General wrote it, has to do with what he described as elective procedures that, quote, infringe upon a minor child's constitutional right to procreate. So a lot of this seems like it's focused more on medical, surgical procedures as opposed to just affirming who children are. How do you see this legal fight?
So I think that the most important thing when we're looking at what the Attorney General wrote is exactly what you're focusing on, which is the Attorney General is focused on the standards of care being around surgery, and the standards of care, especially for minors, are traditionally not surgical. In fact, most of the standards of care talk about social transitioning or just dressing or appearing as their gender identity. When you're younger, there may be some puberty blockers that might be prescribed from a physician, and then maybe hormone therapy for teenagers as they get a little bit further along into the puberty process. And I think when we're looking at hormone therapy, it's important to recognize that it is reversible mostly, and it is always prescribed by a doctor. A teenager going on hormone therapy is not something that's one just haphazardly chooses.
You must know that the White House has spoken out about this. The president put out a statement on Texas's actions regarding transgender youth. Among other things, the statement reads, quote, affirming a transgender child's identity is one of the best things a parent, teacher, or doctor can do to help keep children from harm, and parents who love and affirm their children should be applauded and supported, not threatened, investigated, or stigmatized, unquote. Mr. Mergel-Rust, what is your concern, the legal concern behind all of this for your client? I mean, are we talking about something involving your client's parental rights, or like what's the threat here?
So there's two things that are really at play. The first major thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is that when CPS comes to investigate in Texas, when they complete their investigation, which usually cannot last any longer than 30 days, if CPS finds that a parent has reasonably engaged, or they have reason to believe that a parent has engaged in child abuse, prior to any court intervention whatsoever, parents go on a child abuse registry that can be accessed not only within Texas, but by other states as well, and by organizations such as schools. And so if parents are being placed on that registry inappropriately prior to the court getting involved, there's significant concern, especially if CPS is following the direction of the governor, which his directive is not based in law. From the child's perspective, Texas law is written around the best interest of the child. And I know when a child is not in an affirming home or environment, a transgender child has almost a 1 in 2 chance of attempting to commit suicide. And when they are in an affirming home, that attempted suicide rate drops down to their cisgender peers at about 6.5%. So it's a huge situation in their life that we need to keep that in mind as well.
Rachel, I wonder what you would say to parents who might suggest, nothing against your daughter. We want your daughter to be happy and healthy, but maybe this is a journey that she should make on her own, and when she's an adult, she can decide what she does with her body, as opposed to you as a parent making decisions that she may grow up to regret or rethink. What would you say to them?
Well, these are her decisions. We're supporting and affirming her decisions. These are not things that we are deciding for her. I think a parent that would say something like that truly doesn't understand what we're going through, what any transgender person is going through. And I can't possibly understand it as a cisgender parent, but I know that this is what my daughter, I know that my daughter needs support. I know that all transgender youth need support. And that's why we have experts. That's why we have people who specialize in care for transgender youth. That's why we rely on people who do this for a living and have significant expertise, because I can say that certainly I don't expect the governor to weigh in on any of my healthcare options, and I don't expect him to be weighing in on the healthcare that my daughter needs, that transgender youth need, when he has absolutely no experience, no expertise, and is going against the recommended care of every single major healthcare organization.
And before I have to let you go, Rachel, for parents who may be in a similar situation to you, who are struggling to deal with this in their own ways, what would you say to them? Is there any advice you would give them as they kind of begin this journey with their children?
I would just tell parents you're not alone. It can feel really lonely if you don't know other transgender individuals. So many people know trans kids and know trans adults, but they don't know that they know them. And so it can feel really lonely when you start on this journey and you don't know other people going through this. But just know you're not alone. There's resources out there for you, and we're all in this together.
I know I'm out of time, but Rachel, one last thing I have to ask you. Forgive me for going over time. How are you doing? Are you going to be okay? I just see the weight of this. It's like I see it all over you, and I get it. I totally understand why this is heavy, but are you optimistic for the future of how this is going to go? This feels like such a heavy weight on your shoulders right now.
I'm not sure I know how to answer that question. There are families across the state who are fighting all the time, all kinds of battles to make sure that their children are safe. And my family included has been fighting hard to make sure that our kids stay safe, all three of my kids. And now we are facing the weight of the government trying to strip our children from loving homes, not only families like mine, but families who have less access to resources. And there are children out there who desperately need help, who are being abused. And this kind of political theater is going to stop those children from getting help and the support that they need, because our governor is using our children as political pawns instead of letting them live the life that they need to.
Rachel and Attorney Derek Mergel-Rust, I know that this is gutting to have to talk about so much. I really appreciate your willingness to speak up. Again, we've offered Governor Abbott an opportunity to speak about this. If he does, we will certainly welcome him. But for now, we appreciate the two of you making time. Thank you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.